Oh, hello there, Drew Hanish Whiskey Lore. Time for another whiskey tasting. I realized I didn't have all my bottles up here. Doing a whiskey tasting today, actually the last sip that I have in this bottle of Corryvreckan. I've had this bottle for a long time. I have nursed this since I came back from my visit to Ardbeg in 2019. Holy cow, has it been that long? That made it through an entire pandemic. And that's how I've been nursing this bottle along. And so that's been airing out for well over 2 years. And it's kind of a sad moment because last night I had a couple drops left in my ano and cleaned that out. And then I was having a great Ardbeg evening. Now, Ardbeg is an interesting distillery for me because of all the distilleries on Islay, with the exception of maybe Bunnahabhain, it is my least favorite, probably. And before you get all upset at me, to say that it's my least favorite on Islay is to say that it's still in the top 15% of whiskeys to me. So Islay is great. That's how good the whiskey is that comes from there. But it's just, if I've got to put them into some form of order, the Ardbegs are the ones that I go for probably the least. And it's interesting, not too long ago, I had 4 or 5 different Ardbegs in my cabinet, and they've all been cleaned out except for these two. And this Corryvreckan has been just hanging on, and this sort of reminds me of the day back in, when was that? That was around 2000 that I threw away my turntable. I had had a turntable since I was a little kid, 4 years old. I had a little record player, and then the thing was just, it was on its last legs, and I wasn't listening to records, so I took it over to the dumpster at the apartment I was living in. And it was so funny because when I threw it in there, I almost grabbed it back out because I realized it was the end of an era. And for me, from the day that I started drinking and buying my own Scotch whiskey, the first bottle of Scotch that I owned was Ardbeg 10. And that was thanks to a friend buying it for me for a birthday present. And I talk about that story and the fact that I was like Band-Aid in an ashtray. I was not getting it. I had not yet gotten into the world of Islay whiskeys. I hadn't had that moment. And so it was one of those things where I'm like, just not digging that particular whiskey. But over time, I grew to like it. Although Ardbeg 10 never really became a favorite, it was when I started trying stuff like Corryvreckan and Wee Beastie and Ugadal and so on and so forth that I gained my appreciation for Ardbeg. But I was thinking about it last night when I was drinking that ano and then was suddenly craving a little bit more and opened the Corryvreckan, is that in isolation, Ardbeg is great. I enjoy it. Last night I was really into what I was sipping. And it's because I wasn't comparing it against anything else. I was just enjoying the moment. It's a very full sensory kind of a whiskey. And it is the one Islay whiskey that if you put a blind tasting in front of me, I can probably pick that one out because of that ashy smoke that you get out of Ardbeg. The other thing that was making me really enjoy it last night was the fact that I finally found a use for my Tua glass from Ireland. Hey, they're close by. McConnell's, actually, this is a McConnell's glass, and they're 20 miles away from Islay. Not that far across the Irish Sea. So anyway, but my issue with this particular glass was just that it's got such a wide mouth on it, and then the curve, which kind of blocks the nostrils, and then how deep this glass is. It reminds me more of a tumbler, and tumblers aren't great for doing a really good nosing and tasting. But if you have a whiskey that has a lot of flavor and a lot of scent, like an Ardbeg, and you put it in this, I prefer this to drinking in a tumbler if I'm just sitting there enjoying a whiskey, because it does bring the scents more to your nose as you're tasting it. It's just a really nice glass to drink out of for that kind of an occasion. And so, anyway, Corryvreckan is in here. This is the last of the Ardbeg. I do not have any more Ardbeg. I have not gone back and bought another bottle. And so I'm going to have to get a bottle of Corryvreckan soon. And everywhere I go, it's going up in price. So I better grab one soon before it's a 3-digit issue, because I've been seeing it in the 3 digits in a lot of different places that I've been going to here lately. So I'm going to do a nosing and tasting on this. I also want to mention about, this is about my journey in moving forward in terms of Ardbeg from the very beginning to where I am with it now, and suddenly I'm closing the door on that chapter. But also, Corryvreckan reminds me, because the other day I was I did this in Bracketology, and it scooted through to the next round, and it's had some tough competition. But I was thinking about it when I started preparing for this tasting, how my audience has grown along with me through Instagram and through here on YouTube, because Ardbeg Corryvreckan almost always gets bounced in the 128 down to 64. It never makes it to the 64. And this year, it not only crashed through and made its way into the 64, but now it's into the 32. So, I mean, I am happy to see the evolution of, maybe it's new people coming in, I don't know, but I think a lot of people looked at it 2 years ago and went, Corryvreckan, what the heck is that? And now you guys are really up on these whiskeys, and you're shocking me on this in some of the whiskeys that you're picking, and how well you guys know these different whiskeys, and that's fantastic, because this is making this year's People's Choice Bracketology so much better. I'm glad I got YouTube on here this year. You guys have been a fantastic addition to Bracketology. End of an era. That is it. There is no Corryvreckan left after this, or Ardbeg in my cabinet. So this one brings out a lot of, I get a little bit of the fruits in there, your orchard fruit kind of notes coming out on this. But that smoke is there. I think in this, it doesn't tend to be as aggressive as it is in Wee Beastie and 10. But this is a high proof whiskey. I mean, this is at 57.1% ABV. It'll be interesting to see if that stays consistent in the next bottle I buy. There's some raisin in there as well. The smoke is the star of the show, though. A little baking spice in there as well. Just a nice kind of campfire-y note there. Cheers. It's really interesting because I'm getting a lot of like a raisin note out of this. And then I get like espresso, coffee bean, smoke, of course. There's a sweetness to it, but and then it dries out. There's a pepperiness, ginger, peppery, nice warmth going down, a little brininess along with all of this. But it's very interesting because I seem to be a little bit more connected to what kind of reminds me as sherry kind of notes coming through on that, along with peppery. I talked about this a long time ago, but when I went to Ardbeg, I got a chance to taste all of their whiskeys. They poured me some pretty deep pours, and I sat there for a good hour and a half tasting these different whiskeys and going back and forth between them. And I just absolutely, and Ugadal was in there, the 22-year-old was in there, and my favorite out of all of them was Corryvreckan. And this is one that I don't think it'll be long before I have another bottle of this around, because of the complexity of it. I love complex whiskeys, and so it's just, this one is bravo. I mean, I know a lot of people like Ugadal, and it kills me whenever those two are up against each other, and then people, oh yeah, I like Ugadal much better. This, to me, my palate, this is the one, Corryvreckan, out of the whole Ardbeg line. And so I should always have a bottle of this around somewhere, along with my Talisker 10s and Old Forester 100s and the rest. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video today. I know I kind of waxed poetic about a lot of different stuff here, but it is kind of a sad day in a way that this will be the first time after I finish this dram that I don't have an Ardbeg, since Ardbeg was really where my Scotch journey, my home collection, really got started. So anyway, I will have to drown my sorrows in finishing this glass. I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe if you'd like to watch more of these videos. If you haven't already, give it a like. If you'd like to, or if you've learned something here, or if you just enjoyed the video of me going on and on about whiskey. And make sure to keep voting in Bracketology. We're about halfway through the field of 64 and getting down to the 32, and it's only going to get tougher from here. Until next time, cheers and Slainte. I think that has evolved over time. A little sugariness to it too. A little brown sugar coming in. So much going on there.